This week on Arizona Illustrated, face coverings.
Masks are very helpful when you cannot maintain social distancing.
The flying memorial.
Probably the biggest thrill, though, has come from it is meeting the veterans and hearing some of the stories that have never been heard before.
The class of 2020.
As students, we always imagine ourselves walking across the stage to receive our long-awaited diplomas, in the same fashion that generations of students have done before us in the May of their graduation year.
Honoring veterans.
I look back and I feel sorry for those that didn't make it. If I was to do it all over again, I would be the first one in line, to do it.
And a look back at Memorial Day 2019.
We're just celebrating them today, those who sacrificed their lives for our freedom so that we can be out here and enjoying ourselves.
Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. As restrictions ease in Arizona, people return to work, and our community begins to reopen, it's worth repeating that the virus is still here, and acting responsibly is critical. CDC guidelines continue to stress social distancing, washing your hands often, staying home as much as possible, and when in public places where it's difficult to maintain 6 feet of distance, wear a mask. But what about wearing a mask? We asked someone who would know.
Number one way that this is spread is from person to person, and we know the best way to prevent getting sick is to make sure that we are not encountering the virus ourselves. So the number one way to do that is to make sure that your hands are always clean. When you touch your face, that's your eyes, nose, and your mouth. We call those mucous membranes. And that's how the germs get into your body. Another thing we can do is to mask when we're out in public. We try to stay 6 feet away. That's called social distancing. If we can't stay 6 feet away, we want to make sure that everyone is masked. The reason why we have everyone masked is because the person that might be sick and may not know it needs to have what we call source control. And source control is when the person who might be sick or is sick has their droplets blocked by wearing a mask. And then everybody else who wears a mask is also adding an extra layer of protection for themselves by blocking any droplets from entering their airway. Masks are very helpful when you cannot maintain social distancing, when you cannot be more than 6 feet away from others. That's the best time to mask. Now, there are some people that are not good candidates for masking. Those would be children under 2, anyone with severe respiratory issues, or anybody that's unconscious and cannot remove the mask themselves. When you're outside, try to go out in times of day that are not as crowded or take paths that are not as popular so that you're not necessarily within 6 feet of people, and make sure that if you do choose to mask, that you are able to breathe through your mask. We want to make sure that you stay safe while you're masking. You really need to assess your own personal risks and potentially talk with your healthcare provider to see how extensive your personal protections should be.
We're here at the USS Arizona Mall Memorial, a centerpiece of campus, lined with 1,177 medallions, each with the name of a service member lost aboard the USS Arizona in the attack on Pearl Harbor. This week, we recognize and honor all the men and women who lost their lives serving in our nation's military. During World War II, the B-17 bomber, also known as the Flying Fortress, was instrumental in the strategic air campaign against German military and industrial targets. Some of the men who crewed the B-17 are still with us today. Photographer Gage Judd takes us up to experience firsthand the Flying Memorial.
It's an honor to fly this airplane. Just to fly this airplane, it's so rare, and it represents such a courageous generation of people. I never get into this airplane that I don't think about those 19, 20, 21-year-old young airmen, pilots, and for that matter, enlisted members that were manning the guns in an airplane they hardly knew. I mean, they only had about 165 hours total time when they came to the B-17.
Now for your flight today, it's real comfortable. It's not pouring down rain, it's not real cold like what the guys had to, experience back in the day. And the best part is nobody's shooting at you, so that's even better. So,
the way we do it is we take the airplane kind of barnstorming fashion, go city by city, kind of like a traveling circus, for lack of better words. It's one thing to see it just sitting there and just kind of, imagine what it sounds like, what it smells like when it's operating and things like that, and what it looks like in flight. But actually see one in person that, it's running, it's operating, it's flying, and that kind of thing. The difference is night and day, and it's just truly awe-inspiring, and it really brings to life, the history behind it.
Fantastic experience. Being able to see everything and being able to walk around the plane as it's flying is, you feel like you're walking in their shoes even for a couple of minutes, because you're literally sitting on the same table that somebody else did to drop bombs. You're sitting in the same seats that a navigator would use to pilot his plane back home. Definitely takes you back in time.
It takes all of a pilot's strength to keep a 30-ton fortress in tight formation. Higher and higher, climbing to reach your best operational altitude, 25,000 feet. You look out at the strange world beyond, reflections in plexiglass, like nothing you ever saw before, outside of a dream.
It's a fantastic experience to be able to get to fly a B-17. There just aren't very many of them left in the world, of course, and not very many people left, that are able to get the opportunity to fly one of these. It takes you back to basic flying skills, no automation, it's all manual. It doesn't take away from the fact that I love flying the airplane. It's a lot of fun. Just can't be beat no matter where you go. You're kind of the center of attention, and it's pretty cool, pretty cool.
I've always been a history buff, and something like this is real special to me because I do feel strongly that, we don't have enough history shared in our schools and things like that for people to have an opportunity to learn about, the different sacrifices that our men and women made throughout the years to keep our great country, the country that it is.
Probably the biggest thrill, though, has come from it is meeting the veterans and hearing some of the stories that have never been heard before. You'll have a veteran coming out here who probably is in a walker of some sort or even a wheelchair. We get him up in the airplane, helping him. But once he gets in the airplane, he becomes a teenager again. They zip through the whole fuselage. They go to whatever station they had, during a combat. They know where all the controls are. They can close their eyes and touch everything. And as you probably saw, moving around inside, you got to bend over. You got to be careful where you are. Hit your head. Stumble on different pieces of machinery on the floor. These guys, they just become a teenager again. So it's magical, really, to see what happens.
Chances are you know a high school or college senior who is graduating with the class of 2020. I know I have one of each in my own family. And with the crushing impact of the coronavirus pandemic, they've all had to reflect and reimagine this important and transforming time in their lives. A time they had anticipated would be full of recognition, celebration, and community. We had the good fortune of hearing what would have been the graduation speeches of two high school seniors, Isabella Espinoza and Tessa DiConcini.
Good evening, class of 2020.
As students, we always imagine ourselves walking across the stage to receive our long-awaited diplomas in the same fashion that generations of students have done before us in the May of their graduation year. For all of us, the May of 2020.
I'm sure no one had expected this day to come so soon and for our senior year to end so chaotically.
Now, the May of 2020 is here, but we will not be walking across any stage, and we will not have the luxury of reflecting with our peers on the years of education that we have weathered to make it to this ceremony. In fact, the uncertain future has robbed us of our last practices, our senior nights, our final awards and shows, the goodbyes, and of course, the traditional graduation that we have worked for so tirelessly. All the early morning band marchers, athletes, speed readers, class skippers, actors, musicians, nerds, bookworms, bench stealers, comedians, fence climbers, pranksters, friends, lovers, heartbreakers, gamers, debaters, and artists will leave their high school years without the closure that they expected and deserve.
Nonetheless, we have all finished a major accomplishment, and it is deserving of celebration no matter the state of the world. Since all of you have been out of school for months, I've decided to share with you the biggest lesson I've learned from high school. This community we all share, it is worth so much more than it is ever given credit for. There is so much beauty here, and that is because of all of us. We are the kids who grew up riding our bikes in the neighborhoods with our friends. We're the kids who were taught to respect our elders. We learn all the important things like friendship and courage and good fashion from our older siblings. I know I did from my sister Cassandra.
We were born in the immediate aftermath of 9/11. We're the guinea pigs for a new global connectedness made possible by the internet, experienced the 2008 recession firsthand, grew up with constant coverage of war playing on our TVs and smartphones, and entered high school at one of the most politically divided and unstable times in modern history. In our freshman year, we watched a historical presidential election and the political landscape change more than we could have ever imagined. The Women's March, DACA walkouts, the March for Our Lives, climate strikes, Red for Ed, and countless other political movements became integral parts of our adolescent experience.
Everyone here has experienced some kind of tragedy, but that has never stopped us. For me, I've always loved learning, and the diploma seemed to just come with that. I spent a lot of high school feeling different than the scientist I aspired to be. I could tell you that there are few women in STEM. Even less that are Mexican American, and even less than that come from Desert View High School. But it never mattered what the world threw at me, because my community never stopped believing in me to do well. My parents are hardworking, and they passed that to me. My mom worked every holiday I could remember at a local grocery store so that she could give me and my sister every opportunity possible. We played learning games at home because my parents always wanted us to find learning fun. As a preschooler, I was also valedictorian. Because my teacher saw I had a love of talking and my mom always wanted me to shine. In that speech, I told everyone I learned my colors, my ABCs, my 1, 2, 3s. That still holds true today. I have only learned the basics and I am eager to continue.
As our high school education comes to a close, we graduate in the midst of a global crisis, the likes of which have never been seen before. For that, we will be remembered by the many generations of students that follow us. If given a choice, many of us might wish to be normal and forgotten, and not the infamous class of 2020, because of the weight of hardship and struggle that that title will forever hold. However, we are the class of 2020. This time will always be linked with you, whether you like it or not. History has chosen us. May we use our story, our drive, our strife, and our experiences to be the change in our communities that is long overdue.
This community of ours should be so hopeful that it has leaders ready to be a part of it. We are engineers, poets, scholars, scientists, teachers, and everything in between. Every win that comes to each one of you is a win for us all. Remember that a loss is always a chance to learn and teach us all so we can do better.
We can make it through this stronger than perhaps any group of 18-year-olds has ever been. And just imagine how hard it will be to stop us from changing the world for the better.
This community will never abandon you, because no matter how far you go or how silly it sounds, you are a Jaguar through and through, and then some.
Best wishes, class of 2020, and congratulations, my most deserving fellow graduates.
On May 25th, 2020, Memorial Day, our nation remembers the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their country. In wars and on battlefields around the world, they fought and died for our freedom. In Douglas, Arizona, the community there has created an exhibit that honors those from the surrounding community who served in the United States Armed Forces during the Vietnam era.
This museum, if it could speak, it would tell you so many stories, interesting stories, sad stories, funny coincidences. There's so much here, so much history. The Wall of Faces started to bring about information about the guys from Douglas and the surrounding communities who served in Vietnam or during the Vietnam era, either the Army Reserve, National Guard, or whatever. From a couple hundred guys that we started out with, it's over 700 now. And it was a way of recognizing them for their service to our country. And it started very small. We were supposed to just do it from July the 4th to Veterans Day 2 years ago, and that was it. But it just grew into something bigger and bigger. Our luck, the owners of the Gadsden say, hey, you know, there's an extra room we have there. If you guys are willing to fix it up, paint it, put a carpet on it, you can have it. So that's what we did. It's all been volunteer work, and it's been great.
It's an emotional little room here that you can come in here and, you know, say things and reminisce about them. My name is Frank Palma, and I'm retired from federal service after 45 years. I joined at a young age. I left to go into the Army. I ended up in Vietnam after 6 months of training. Back then, I thought we were young and invincible. We could do a lot of things, crazy things, you know. And flying, I never thought it was that dangerous at times, but it was dangerous flying, getting shot down. Unfortunately, it never happened. We had emergency landings because of bullet holes or something, but other than that, it was just a great experience flying out there. Good memories. When they started asking if we had anything to bring in, I decided to go in and start cleaning them out and put my medals and you know, update my stripes, and which I'm really proud of it, you know. You know, I wish I could fit into it right now, but it's a real nice uniform.
My name is Joe Arbono, and I was in the Army. I was a crew chief door gunner on Hueys, and I spent most of my time in Vietnam doing that. Vietnam, we joined as boys, trying to prove that we were men, and not really knowing that when we came back, we wanted to be that boy again, because we had seen so much, and it was just a little bit too much to handle, you know, and just one of those things that we saw too much as boys. I was shot down a couple of times in a helicopter, and luckily I survived. I attribute that to my mother's prayers, and I was able to, in those days you took parts, whatever you could, just as souvenirs. It's still emotional to me. I think about the people that were lost. My friends in Douglas, there was like 13 of them that were lost there. I get emotional seeing a helicopter in the sky. That sound will never go away. Veterans Day is very hard for me. Same thing as Memorial Day, because I remember all the veterans, all my friends and family that have passed away, and I pay tribute to them going to the cemetery and just saying prayer over their grave, or remembering so that they're not forgotten. One of the things is mainly that they're not forgotten.
I got wounded, not seriously wounded, but it could have been worse. I think back and I say, gosh, you know, I was close, but I'm glad, and I get to enjoy life now. You know, I look back and I'm sorry. I feel sorry for those that didn't make it. If I was to do it all over again, I would be the first one in line, you know, to do it. I don't regret my 21 years in the military. I don't regret my 21 years or 24 years with the Postal Service, because all those years I spent in uniform. Yeah. I think I served my country proudly.
And now we take a look back at 2019, when we attended the 46th annual Memorial Day Parade in Tucson Estates, where attendees gathered to honor and remember those who fell, protecting the freedoms we all enjoy.
This is our annual Memorial Day Parade. We have over 40 entrants. Everyone is welcome to our community to come and enjoy this. We've done it for several years now. I believe we're the only Memorial Day Parade in Tucson.
Memorial Day was started by Civil War veterans after the Civil War, and that's part of what we're here to do, is honor our ancestors and those who gave their lives to the country.
Well, I'm here because my mom is being honored in the parade. She's a 99-year-old World War II vet, the first captain in the Army, and she oversaw 200 cadets. And she was a tough son of a gun. It's not that often you get to honor the people that fought for our country. So to be in the only Memorial Day parade in Tucson was pretty cool. And it's in our own backyard. Or my mom's backyard, I should say.
This was my first time out at the parade, actually, and I'm really glad that I made it. It's just people coming together to the community and to thank each other and to lean on one another and, you know, ultimately enjoy our beautiful weather. It's really good for the family and again of all ages. Everyone enjoys it.
I live here in the park and I'm always working. I'm usually on the road working, and it's my first time home here. It's great to see this kind of support for our country. It is the greatest country in the world.
Robert G. Bethel, U.S. Navy. Richard A. Boland, U.S. Army. Edward J.B. Kilako, U.S. Army.
My daughter, my son, my stepfather, my uncles are all veterans, and so we're just celebrating them today, those who sacrificed their lives, you know, for our freedom so that we can be out here and enjoying ourselves.
Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. Stay healthy, and we'll see you next week.